I'd like to call this meeting to order, the Oconee County Planning Commission, this Monday, June the 17th, at just before 6 o'clock. Our first order of business is invocation. Our county chaplain, he is not attending, so Ms. Stacy, would you please?
Dear Lord, we come to you today just thanking you for this day, Lord. Thank you for the beautiful sunshine. We thank you, Lord, for this county that we live in and all the people, Lord, that make up our diverse community, Lord. And we just ask that you be with us as we make plans for the future of this county, Lord, that we would take all people's needs into account, that we would respect each other, that we would work together to do what's best for our county. And we just thank you, Lord, for all the wounded warriors who were entertaining in our county this week, Lord. Just ask that you be with them and give them some much needed rest and recovery. And we just ask that you let us be great hosts for them. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen. Mr. Alex.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Okay, we have our first thing, our public comment for non-agenda items. Mr. Barnett.
I signed both of them, but it don't really matter. I won't talk about both of them. Really, about the so-called comprehensive land use plan. All this land belongs to somebody. Believe it or not, they're United States citizens. There may be some foreigners that own a little bit of it. But the main thing I want to give you a notion, kind of an idea of how you can keep yourself out of trouble. So and that's this document right here. If you're not familiar with it, you best get familiar with it, because this great nation comes with a recipe. And if you follow this recipe, you'll never have a problem out of the rural community. Now, this comp plan is not supposed to be designed to conquer the landowners of the rural community. We're working on this so-called Carter plan. And I've got this notion that at some point, they're going to expand this Carter program with the notion that they can get away with top-down zoning at some point. Now, you better understand, the good people of this county, the Scotch-Irish of this county, can smell what's cooking. And I just advise you to be very, very careful what you get into when it comes to violating our private property rights, because that's what we have worked for, what we have fought for, and what we have died for. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Barnett. Okay, next item is approval of minutes from our 6/3/2019 meeting. Do I hear a motion?
I just have one correction. Approval of minutes from 006, it should just be 10.
Yeah. Got a little happy with the O's. So need a motion to approve?
So moved.
I'll second. Got a motion and a second. Any corrections? Discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we're skipping item number 6 because we do not have a full understanding at this time on what the actual directives are from the Planning and Economic Development. Adam will get to us hopefully at our next meeting and give us the information and the details of that. So we'll skip down to the Planning Commission report. There was a paper in our backup material Adam wanted us to sort of fill out. Does anyone have any accomplishments that they feel we did this year that is not, besides the first and second one that's already on the list?
Grammatical, please remove the word up.
I got that.
I think it's supposed to be up.
Mr. Chairman, let me explain one quick thing about this. The mid-year report has been requested by administration, that you may remember. This was not something you did last year because it hadn't been requested till now. And I think the intent is that the mid-year report be sort of your summary of accomplishments going back to July 1 of last year. So that'd be July 1 fiscal year. So that's what this is about, just as a report back to administration.
So in addition to what's on here, the review of these different elements, we've also had very successful outreach into the various segments of the county that ought to be noted. We've also had 600 and some odd surveys come back that should be noted. We've also had great success with cooperation from the media in assisting in getting all of this information on the comprehensive plan. I think those are all accomplishments
Right.
that we need to put down and add to this.
Among that, we've also updated the sign ordinance, got that finished and approved by council. We produced text amendments separating the community development and the planning department, making them two separate entities rather than just one.
Did you all get all that?
Sure did. If I don't have it on paper, we have it on tape.
I think under future expectations, completing the review of the comp plan
Yes, ma'am, that's definitely.
A given. and the corridor plan should be done.
Right.
And to add an executive summary to the comprehensive plan, because if I'm correct, that has not been on there prior to this time, right? And make sure that it is in a simple, quick format that can be more kind of a handbook or guidebook rather than a novel.
With the
You
complete,
added the agricultural element.
We've added the agricultural element.
Something that had not been done before.
and then as soon as we get the information from Seneca to conduct traffic studies, if needed, on the Kiwi School Road and 28 intersection and South Cove intersection. I know there's a lot of things in the works right now with that, but I hope to get done in the future. Goals?
Continue to plow through this comprehensive plan.
Finish plowing through this.
Do we expect to be finished with it by by December? Isn't that our goal, the comp plan?
That would be
Okay,
a-
and that would be a goal, is to meet that expectation.
December range.
Actually, we're supposed to be finished by November, where council can approve it in December.
Okay, well, that,
Meet November's deadline.
Mhm. Anything else on the goals? And our needs? The only thing I come up with on the needs is to seek more input from council and administration to what they would like for us to look at and fix or study or whatever. And then to get more input from our citizens at our meetings and ever otherwise.
and I thought it was nice when Mr. Chapman came periodically and told us what was going on as far as the number of development applications, how much the county was growing, just so we could kind of keep a feel of,
The update.
right, the update was great.
Okay.
Probably have to leave that up to Vivian now, since Adam's got, he's went up the ladder.
I got you, okay. Sorry.
It's all right.
Okay, is anything else we need to add to
As
this?
far as the planning report, if we could get notice as to the 4 July outreach locations and times as far as from staff.
You have that, and,
We can email it
Just
to
forward
them
it.
if you like.
I was just trying to get it on public record since there are people that are watching this broadcast.
we can
It's-
go,
it's in the-
we can go. Then, of course, there'll be a legal ad that goes out on this, as well as hopefully our website as well. The dates are July 9th for a meeting at Mountain Rest Community Club, Mill Road, Rest area. July 11th, these are all 6 PM. July 11th, 6 PM, Salem Community Center Town Hall, Salem. July 18th at Westminster Depot in Westminster, and July 25th at Fair Oak Youth Center at Westminster, Schoolhouse Road, Westminster. Again, all those are 6 PM start times.
And you said July 25th at Fair,
Fair Oak Youth Center, 50 Schoolhouse Road, West. And we'll email you a copy of that as well.
And is that on our county website also?
It's not yet, but we'll get it up.
They're gonna do a little advertisement like they did for the other meetings,
Mm-hmm.
and it'll be in the paper. And I think Adam said he would send us a copy if we wanted to put it out with our,
Well, and that was my point here, is we got it in the paper, but we can also get it on YouTube right here, and we can also get it.
good point. All right, we're finished with number 7, let's move on to number 8. Mr. Tom, you were.
For the record, I am Tom Markovich, joining an excused absence for 2 weeks ago. Very quickly, I'll try to be very quick. I have some comments on the community facilities section. First comment has to do with the local government, Oconee County. First sentence says that Oconee County was created in 1868 from the western half of Pickens County. That is incorrect. There were no counties before 1868. They were districts, and we were created from the Pickens District, so that needs to be corrected. Section 3, county boards and commissions. First sentence, all jurisdictions in South Carolina that regulate land use, including Oconee County, must have a planning commission and board of zoning appeals. That is incorrect. The law says they may have them. It does not say must anywhere in there. So, also, in that next line, next paragraph, first sentence,
I'm sorry, Ms. Markovich, where were you, what section?
it's on page.
that was on county boards and commissions. That would have been,
Page 7-3.
yeah, 7-3. That was, that first paragraph.
I'm not sure what you're referring to, because you cannot do regulation of land use in South Carolina if you don't have a board of zoning appeals or a planning commission, or at least have representation by planning commission. You can't do it.
According to 629, which is comprehensive, the whole statute, 629, it clearly says may. I looked it up today to be certain of that. And now, that's not to say, I mean, and there's certain situations when the only one that is started to be slightly vague about had to do with the subdivision regulations. But it's not even vague there, because it clearly says that those decisions can be granted to staff. And so in those situations, if you had to have an appeal, you would go back to the county council in those situations, but nowhere in that law, into that Comprehensive Planning Act, does it say that you must have? In all situations, it says may, and I've read that thing many times, so.
We'll review that.
Also, in that next paragraph, and it said, and this is not, but it says the duty of the planning commission to develop and carry out a planning program, and I don't dispute that. However, the thing that tends to get overlooked oftentimes is, in addition, I mean, there's many duties that are prescribed by the state legislature. And one of them that tends to get overlooked is that all planning elements must be an expression of the planning commission's recommendations to the appropriate governing bodies with regard to the wise and efficient use of public funds. And then there's some other things. And then also, another thing that it has to consider is the fiscal impact of the property owners. And those things tend to get left behind when we talk about the duties of the planning commission. I just think that it's worth noting that, you know, the legislature thought enough to put it in there. I would think that when we draft things like this, that we should put it in there too. Okay, next. Water service treatment and distribution. They make kind of a, I don't know what kind of a statement it is. Access to water service, this is on 7.4 under utilities and water service. That's that part 1, first paragraph. Access to water service plays an important role in the development pattern of a community. Residential development outside water service areas must utilize wells, adding to initial cost of each residential. I kind of question that statement from the sense that in most cases, when you're outside the area, you're ended up being in a section of property that's been developed by a developer. We pay for those water lines to be put in there. That cost gets built into the lot price. It's not like if you build outside the city, your water's not free if you build inside the city limits or anywhere. I mean, it's just, you're still gonna pay for the water no matter what. It doesn't matter if you're on a well or if you're on a city system. And in fact, if you're on a city system after the developer's already paid to put the water in, you're gonna pay tap fees and impact fees and other things like that. Another thing under that particular section, that second paragraph, water treatment is primarily provided by 2 plants. Last I counted, we got 4 treatment plants in Oconee County. We got Seneca, Walhalla, Westminster, and now Pioneer. So that needs to be fixed. In your table, 7.2 on the page 7.5, it talks about private water systems, and it talks about TESTI in Foxwood Hill. That's not TESTI. It's not TESTI, it is TESI, Total Environmental Systems Incorporated. No T in there. All right, wastewater. Here's another situation. This on page 7.6 in this first paragraph, and starts talking about residential development outside sewer service areas must rely on septic tanks, adding to the initial cost of a residential unit through installation and maintenance costs, as well as requiring larger lots. Again, it doesn't matter if you're on a septic tank or if you're on sewer. The developer has paid for that sewer to be there, and it costs a lot of money. It gets built into the price of the lot. You pay for it whether you're on one system or not, so there's not like an extra cost to be. There's a lot of cost involved in being on a sewer system. So I don't understand what that sentence is supposed to mean. Further, it goes on to talk about some of the suitability criteria for septic systems, and it talks about soil type, which is correct. Parcel size is not totally correct, and slope has nothing to do with septic tanks. We've talked about that before, and it keeps coming back. So, all right. That may be, the only thing I saw, oh, I know, on the fire district maps, and it's more a question on my part. I've always understood us to have 17 fire districts, not 18. And when we go in, and I looked at the county site today, there's no mention of a Holly Springs. There may be a fire department out there, but there's no mention of a Holly Springs fire district
Where are you at, Tom?
on page 720.
Is that not where they put the substation out there?
It might be, but I'm saying we still only have the 17 districts, and so,
I think they got that sort of confused on that one, because that's not a district, that's just a substation we have in that area.
right.
You talking about on the chart, on where it has them listed?
On 719.
Because it says fire stations, it doesn't say fire districts.
Okay, well, there was another
Yeah, we
reference
do have
in.
that many fire stations.
There was another reference to the fire districts, and I didn't copy that, but there was a reference to the fire districts, and it says there's 18, and I don't believe it.
Oh,
Anyway,
I see, the map has fire districts and fire station locations on it.
yeah. And then, I was gonna comment on some of the goals, and if there's too many to really comment on, but I would just say this. A number of the goals talk about expansion of sewer system, water system, and a number of different, and with the exemption of main trunk lines, developers pay the cost for expanding all of that. Not the municipalities and not that's just, like I said, trunk lines on sewer, yeah, the county pays for that. But we pay for the rest of it. And so when they start looking at some of these things, and it says the parties that are responsible for expanding water and sewer, all I see is county, or municipalities. Well, they don't pay for it. We pay for it and then we give it to them. So just keep that in mind on some of those goals. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Tom. Already had our public outreach update. Some of it. You got anything else you need to tell us
I'm sorry?
on the public outreach? Any other comments on that?
You talking on the update?
Yeah.
Not at this point.
Okay. Executive summary update, Mr. Mike.
Okay, we met just a few minutes ago, and we are working on our vision statement, going through that. We have rearranged some of the topics to think that we get a better topic flow. And we are going to start outlining some of the material that we think should go into the various topics. That's where we are at this point. Again, we usually meet about 30 minutes before the 6 o'clock meeting time, and that's it.
Okay. All right, let's start on in the community facilities element. We normally start with the goals, objectives, and strategies. They are on page 734.
Text. Can I talk about the text for a minute? Tom did.
Yes, go ahead.
Okay. I don't know if anybody noticed, but we've been through this once, but on page 710, Adam added in a very good section for the internet. And we all know that this county could sure use a good internet system that is reliable and works, right, Gwen?
Most of the time.
Most of the time. Anyway, added that in. I think that's a good addition. On page 713, I'm going to ask a difficult question here. Nowhere in here in the education or the school information do they talk about the dropout rate. I know that's a sensitive issue, but maybe that's something that ought to be included in here somewhere. If anybody else thinks that's worthwhile, speak up. Because I think that should be one of the strategies or goals that we have in the back is how can we reduce the dropout rate? But nobody wants to talk about it. Anyway, I think it's something worthwhile thinking about, because we sure want to get everybody through the schools, but we don't want to lower the standards, but we want to see if we can keep them in there to get them to the finish line. One other thing, I don't know if I'm getting any traction on that. I want to mention Vision Plan 2028. Has anybody read through this recently or looked at this? It's a wonderful document that was created back in 2008. It is really a mini comprehensive plan. And the beauty of this is the sentence structure in here is very, very easy to understand for somebody like me. And it's got a lot of the same themes that we are dealing with right now in the comprehensive plan. It's a very, very good document. That's it for me for the text.
Okay. Anybody else have anything to add?
I don't know if it needs to be in here or not, but I know we have a Station 21 fire it's not an actual station, is it? But we do have a 21 that responds like to the whole county.
Is that not the one in West Leavenworth?
719.
719, where it's got the fire stations. I know we have a Station 21. It's the county that's like staffed.
Is that not the very first thing they got here, Oconee County Emergency Services?
I don't know what these two dots are though. They're actually called Station 21. I think that needs to be factored in there somewhere.
Mike, do you know what is the dropout rate higher than other counties, or is there some?
I have
Is
no
it-
idea.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'm fine with addressing it. I was just trying to look it up to see if it was.
It would be interesting to see what it is and see if it's up or down.
And I think it needs to be per school, because if we see that we have a huge problem in one school district, then that one needs to be addressed. Like if West Oak has a ton more dropouts than Walhalla does, then we got a problem at West Oak that needs to be addressed.
Well, defining a dropout too is
Yeah.
from what I understand.
Or maybe
can be a challenge.
graduation rate should be something that we put in
Well,
there.
graduation rate's usually included, but that does not necessarily count dropout rate. Even though it sounds like it should, it doesn't. So, yeah, I like the idea of putting in graduation rate. I don't know that we would want to report every school in the comprehensive plan, but
Well, you
it'd be
only got
nice to know
3.
it. Yeah.
High schools, because you're not going to do it for elementary schools. So I think for the high schools.
Unless we have any objections, Mr. Tom?
You'll remember, if you look back at the old comprehensive plan, you'll see a whole section in there that has to do with, and in fact, with dropout rates, which can be a real misnomer. Dropout rate is quite a different number from what a completion rate is. And the reason I say this, I spent 4 or 5 years working for 2 governors on a state commission that dealt with exactly this. And we created the Education and Economic Development Act. And and there's been great improvement in the time since that act went into play. There needs to be more improvement. It's not there yet. However, I would say this, that, if you were going to put those kinds of numbers, the completion rate means far more than the dropout rate is, because the dropout, it doesn't really draw the right picture. And so, but the completion rate does, because that's really what you want to know, is how many kids are making it through the entire system and making it, and graduating. Now, your completion rate in some cases may come back and include some of the GEDs, but that's fine because they still completed. It doesn't matter if they completed regular school or GED or where, but they still got through the system.
Thanks, sir. All right, unless there's anything else, let's start with goal 7.1. Provide adequate, safe, and efficient infrastructure to current and projected needs.
I wanted to add a strategy, and I numbered it 7.1.1.4, and this is what I wanted to add. Encourage municipalities and other water providers to share resources for more efficient economics and water usage. Period. Every municipality has their own water system. I just wonder if why they couldn't get together and share their resources to do that.
It could be a strategy, but don't know how well it's gonna work because everybody's got their own prices, their own, way of doing things, and it's hard to get three, even, well, now, might as well say, especially with Pioneer, to get everybody to work together and actually think about who they're serving. So, I mean, it's a good idea, I just don't know how well it would work.
Well, we got a lot of ideas in here that I wonder about if they're gonna be doable.
Well, when you look at strategy 7.1 it's not far off from what you said. It's a little bit off it's mostly aimed at expanding service, but it does work to facilitate the establishment of partnership with water providers. I don't know if that could just be, as opposed to adding a whole nother objective, that one could be tweaked to encourage that.
In other words, revise that wording in there.
That's kind of,
Revise
as
the
opposed to
wording
a
of
whole
one.
nother number. I like less numbers.
That's fine with me. I don't have a problem. I just think we ought to try to encourage these folks maybe to work together.
To work together and also to conserve water,
Sure.
So adding that to one,
encourage the conservation.
to 1.1.
See, we could work to facilitate and establish it.
Do we have to come up with the words, Bill, or can we send it back to the, those ladies and ask them to maybe try to include something like having the providers share resources, reword it? Or do we have to reword it?
If you just give us the concept and the commission agrees to it, we can develop.
Well, the concept
language for
is,
it.
Expand service and encourage cooperation.
yeah, encourage corporations to share their resources.
Under 7111.
Yes. If that's agreeable with everybody,
Got your motion?
I'll make a motion.
Second.
Second. Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Anything else in goal 7.1?
No, I think that
We'll
was good.
move down to objective 7.1.2, improve and expand wastewater treatment within Oconee County.
Yeah, I'm back at it again.
Who was waiting on you?
I knew you were. I wanted to add a strategy, and if we can combine it with another one, fine. Encourage septic tank and leach field inspections with emphasis near water sources. I am very concerned.
We already do that. That's what DHEC does, that's what,
No,
they come in and check all that stuff
No,
when you're next to
no.
water.
I'm going to disagree with you. They do not until there is a problem. Then they come in, and then they will try to deal with the problem. What I'm trying to do is to get the homeowner to encourage them to have their septic tanks inspected or looked at before they have a problem. And I'm concerned about the people around the lake.
Because you've experienced some issue?
Yeah.
And when you,
not at my house, but
so when the issue was experienced, obviously people became aware of it.
yes, and when we turned to DHEC, it looked like they wanted to delay, and wait until something was in the water. When we turned to the homeowners association, they got it taken care of very quickly. All I'm trying to do is to try to encourage these people and educate them, hey, take care of this thing, watch it, and get somebody to look at it that knows what they're doing periodically. Don't depend on DHEC until it's going in the lake. That's our source of drinking water.
So have you ever experienced one that actually made it that far?
No, but we've had it coming out of the ground towards the lake.
I've never seen anything like that with regard to septic, and I have seen HOAs get overzealous about doing something simply because they don't know any better. And septics have been around for years and years and years and years and years in their system that have worked for 20 years without issue. We do see around the lake, HOAs getting all excited because they don't understand septic systems. DHEC is there to make it function the way it's supposed to function. And if it fails because the homeowner didn't do something right, the neighbor is going to complain years before it ever actually hits the lake.
Depends on if they're non-residents or residents, and this was non-resident issue.
So there are, and I would agree that an ad campaign or brochure or providing a pamphlet if need be to folks that aren't familiar with how septic systems work, to go as far as something like that, I wouldn't be objectionable to, but requiring us
I'm
to
not requiring
provide
it.
extra
I'm
staffing.
encouraging it. I'm not requiring it. I'm suggesting it be, you encourage it.
My only problem with anything that we put in here, in the comprehensive plan that we're encouraging, is I'm afraid it's gonna turn into us requiring.
Yeah, that's the way we gotta be careful of what we put in here.
And
Because this is our working plan on what requirements we're gonna make.
Because council can pick it up and go, oh, planning commission wants us to make this an ordinance. And then there, instead of them getting jumped on, then we have 75 to 100 people here jumping on us because we're the ones that put him in the plan.
You've got strategies in here that are not doable, that are all over here.
Then they need to come out too. If it's not doable, why is it in there?
Well, we could have started that with the first day, Stacy.
And I'm just going to make a comment about a neighbor of mine who is here from Georgia, who used to install docks and who does not, well, he's continuing to, but he's going up the East Coast because he was to the point that he was having to wear a wetsuit, a fully enclosed wetsuit, because he could not go into the lake over there in Georgia because the water was so inhospitable to life. Corrosion on bolts, docks, et cetera. You know, it's easy to say that people who don't understand something, I don't know a whole lot of people who understand the full functioning of a septic system. They know how to put it in, they know what to do when it doesn't work, but they don't necessarily know how to maintain one over a period of 20 years. And just because it worked 20 years doesn't mean it's going to work 25. Especially not when we get years of drought and then years of, 127 inches of rain. Water is a precious commodity. And so for me, I think that any time that we can take a step that simply says, because we are the planning commission, we're not the oops, let's do it over commission. We're not the, hey, this is the law commission. We're looking 20 years down the road and saying, guys, these are things that we see that would be good maybe to think about, and these are things that would be good to avoid. And so to remind people that it's important to consider the fact that we might have several hundred septic systems around a body of water that we drink out of, to me is a good use of our time as planners. We're not doers, we're planners. We're people who go, hey guys, think about it.
So do we create a brochure? That says, how does your septic system work?
How many people
Does
don't read
DHEC
that?
not already have campaigns for taking care of?
Yeah, they do, and people still don't know. I mean, that's what I'm saying. We can't, you can't educate till the cows come home. I mean, you know, as a former teacher, every time a problem came up, let's educate folks. Let the teachers do it. You know, we were teaching gun safety and dental repair and everything else under the sun, manners and etiquette and, you know, everything. You can't educate people until it's important to them. You know, the old saying about you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink. No, the saying should be, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him thirsty, because the horse has to drink. And so until there's a reason for people to take care of what they have plenty of, they're not going to worry about it. So for me, anything that we can do anywhere that makes people at least think about that pure water may not be there in 10 years. And I don't care what water. I don't care if it's like Kiwi, like Jocassee, you know, Beaver Dam Creek. I don't care what source of clean water it is. We should not take it for granted. When I started teaching, I was told in all my science classes that, number one, we had, 2-something billion people? And that we might reach 7 billion people by 2050. We're at 7 billion people now. We're approaching 9 billion people. And guess what else those science people predicted? The carrying capacity for the planet was 9 billion people. So we've got to start thinking instead of taking for granted.
Okay, we've
So-
got,
If we
we've
can.
got here in the strategy 7121, expand sewer service throughout areas by the land use element as areas of development while implementing appropriate measures to avoid negative impact on sensitive areas. That, not word for word, but to me, that says pretty much what Mike brought up about checking your septic tank. I mean, it's common sense, which we don't have a whole lot of that in the world today. But that covered it. Maybe we could add something like that add that somehow, worded into this particular strategy, to look at septic tanks periodically, and we encourage you to check it or something, because this is talking about sensitive areas, and it would be around the water sources that we have. If they have a problem, they need to keep a check on it. I don't know about making another strategy, but we can add to that particular one.
Does DHEC have a hotline for system failure?
Mike,
They may not have anybody to answer it.
one of the things that I mean, you're in the real estate business, starting to get a lot of people that are moving here used to having a sewer system, and they're not used to having a septic
That's
system.
very correct.
And they're putting everything down the disposals, whatever.
That is correct.
And there needs to be some way of reaching these people and trying to educate them. And that's why I
And I don't
put
disagree
this in.
with those statements. What I see is HOAs charge an extra $250 a homeowner to come around every year and have a guy go, your backyard looks great, when I could have told him that my backyard looks great because I know how to maintain my septic system. Again, there are a lot of people that don't. But the neighbor's also going to complain if that guy's not maintaining his septic system right, or that guy's gonna be calling somebody because his septic system's gonna back up. He's gonna know in a very short amount of time, or he's absent and on vacation and has a running toilet, which in that case, the guy that inspected it 3 months ago would not have caught that toilet running that all of a sudden over-impacted his system. So an over-impacted system can happen very quickly, and if it doesn't happen very quickly, in my experience, that owner has called to have his system pumped twice this year and doesn't know why. And so, yes, there's an education process of I shouldn't be having my system pumped twice a year, and something is definitely wrong. And so I see that education process, but to say we're gonna save the lake, inspecting something in January isn't gonna save the lake in August because of a running, sudden over-impacted a system.
Mr. Chairman, I might need to bring a little bit of information to this that consider or
Just give us
not
speak up.
choose.
Speak up just a little bit,
next
Bill.
time. One issue is, if you read this, I think the intent of that section was to address public system. The attempt to expand public infrastructure availability, not septic. So the septic issue is a separate, in my opinion, strategy or even goal. And there's the other issue, which is that there have been numerous articles around the state about failing septic systems. They're creating serious concerns in the low country, which is understandable there, and even in the Greenville County area, where you have tremendous growth. So the issue isn't individual units. The issue is growth, the amount of growth, the density of growth, and can we manage it? So as planners, you're looking at the broader issues, not just the micro, but the macro issues. The macro issues issue is, are we able to manage this level of growth with these types of systems over time? Just my thoughts, my opinion. You can throw it out as you wish, I understand. But you can also think, I can provide you with some of the articles I'm talking about, because I can pull them in the email to you, look at what the thoughts are in those areas about those issues. But that's, if you're interested in those things. I just thought I'd bring it up because I've read some of these only in recent months, in fact.
Interesting comment made by staff, because at one time, we had a statement in there that we revised that said that you needed 0.57 of an acre in order to put in a system, and then we ended up retracting that because because DEC didn't actually have a number in there. That would be an area where planning could address. I just want to make sure that, and I'm not disagreeing that I can tell you, there's a ton of people that have no idea what a septic system, how it impacts it. Matter of fact, 7.1.2.5 is a prime example of how most people don't understand how a septic system operates. I would like to see, so let me fix that one first. 7.1.2.5 says we need to expand sewer service because in areas where extensive use of septic tanks may compromise critical water resources. Clemson University had done a study sometime back that said if a septic system is in failure, neighbors are going to complain way before it ever hits the water. Whereas if you have a sewer line, 9-inch, 10-inch sewer line valve break all of a sudden, it's going to completely contaminate the lake within hours of before anybody ever notices it. So this statement here is obviously made by somebody that doesn't really understand how septic systems work. And I'm not a septic expert, but we deal with it on a daily basis, and this isn't a correct statement.
The blue is stuff that Alta added, right?
Correct. And it's coming from
With
consumers.
focus groups.
Yeah, focus groups.
Coming from consumers, and it's coming from consumers that don't necessarily understand septic. So I'm in complete agreement that doing some sort of education assistance, if that's our job, is a good thing. But I think, seeing these HOAs that create, we need this septic inspection every year I'm going, that's way overreach, because the guy who inspects in January is not going to fix when that toilet runs 24 hours a day while the people are on vacation. That's what overloads the system.
All right, let's try to get back to where, my HOA charges $60. And every year they come up with one system that has got a problem. It's always been a big help. I'm not advocating that the HOAs go around and start instituting this. I'm just trying to put in a strategy here to encourage people to maybe have their systems inspected. I'm not saying yearly, I'm not saying every 6 months, I'm not saying every other year, but just to encourage them and try to educate them, because if something happens around that lake, it's your drinking water.
Well, I think this goes back to what he said, though. This is about infrastructure. This is about sewer. This is about something the county provides. This section is not actually about septics.
Well, we talk about it, Stacy.
But they're probably somewhere else that, if we want to put that, that it's better suited. Is there another place where we're actually talking about septic systems instead of about sewer systems?
Do you know, Bill?
That is another strategy. Under that objective, or create a new objective.
No, it's not, we don't need any more objectives, goodness gracious.
Or perhaps use that strategy 7125, since it addresses
Reword it, you mean?
septic, although it's really suggesting expansion of public sewer systems, but you could possibly incorporate it there somewhere. Or just add a strategy.
So I kind of think if the entire objective was accomplished, if all those strategies were done, I mean, you would significantly reduce the number of septic tanks in the county. And so I don't know that, I think that's kind of an indirect result of all of these, say, expand sewer service here, expand sewer. A lot of it's commercial and industrial, but it's also including high growth corridors. I think it kind of indirectly would reduce the number of septic tanks. I don't know. It's a specific goal to say, let's reduce septic tanks and let's make sure everybody's, not
Where
using
does-
the garbage disposal.
Where does the liquid go that's currently in our sewer system?
To a big septic tank.
But where does it go?
It winds up in the lake.
What's that?
It winds up in the lake.
It did.
In a concentrated manner?
Yep.
As opposed to in the ground? I mean, we've got wildlife out there
It's going somewhere.
going to the bathroom in the woods. It's not hindering the lake. I just say we're taking and saying, okay, is it really wise thinking to assume that we're better scientists than science itself?
So back to that .5, Mike, were you wanting to take out where the extensive use of septic tanks may compromise critical water resources?
Yes.
I agree.
Make our motion, Mike.
I would like to make a motion that we remove that one, yes.
What are you taking out
On
again?
7.1.2.5, after the word tanks, take out everything else out of that sentence.
I'd take out the whole statement is what I'm
So
wanting
you want to
take
do
out.
away with 7.1.2?
The whole strategy?
The whole statement.
So we're gonna-
I mean, expanding sewer service is fine, but it has nothing to do with critical resources.
And we've already addressed expanding sewer service in 7.1.2.1.
So am I correct in saying then that my suggestion of encouraging septic tank inspections with emphasis near water sources, I don't get much support on that?
I'm supportive of education, and I completely agree that there is a lack of education of what septic systems are around the lake, specifically because many people are coming from a city that they had sewer before, and they don't necessarily know how to keep a system. And so educating that, however that takes place, I'm in support of trying to figure out a way to do that. I'm not in support of us saying that we need to hire an inspector to inspect, or we need to go down the road of hiring an inspector to inspect. But to educate in some form or fashion, whether that's in saying, hey, DCAG has a hotline, we can pick up that torch. I'm in agreement of all of those things as far as educating the consumer that septic tanks
All
are a
right,
good
let me try
thing.
this. Sorry to interrupt you, but I'm trying to get this thing off. Encourage septic tank and leach field education with emphasis near water sources.
Or in general, sure.
I think in general, near water sources and in general. I mean, because they need to know. Most people, like he was saying, most people don't even know what to do if it does leak. They go out in their yard and there's a little water, they just think it rained somewhere. So it's smelling a little bit.
I'm good with that statement, not necessarily with the water sources, but just in general.
All right, so you're saying encourage septic tank and leach field education, period.
Period.
Okay. Can I make a motion then that we include that as another strategy? And say that,
Okay.
I make a motion that we add it as an additional strategy, encourage septic tank and leach field education, period.
All right, we already have a motion
Oh,
to do
for him.
away with 7.1.5, and I think, did you second that, Stacey?
I did.
So, is there any further discussion on doing away with that strategy?
Let's take a vote to remove 7.1.2.5 and then reinstate 7.1.2.5
As something else.
as this amendment in regards to areas where sewer is not available in the county. Because then it addresses it as a community facility.
So you're amending,
No, I'm not amending anything. I think we need to call for the vote
let's
on.
do a vote on the
Vote
first
on
one, then
the
we'll
motion.
have
Right.
another motion, all right? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, Mike, now your motion.
Okay. Hope I can remember this.
It's on tape.
Everybody help me out. 7.1.2.5, we replace it, encourage septic tank and leach field education, period.
Okay, yeah.
I'll second that.
Further discussion?
Do we want to add, work with DHEC on this as opposed to in regard to the agencies accountable?
I would certainly hold DHEC, yeah, they would be listed under that accountable agency.
One thing at a time.
But my only thing is this community facility? A
But you're
septic
going to
tank is not
teach
a
that in
community
areas where
facility.
that community facility is available. So there's no other place to put it.
I agree, I understand what you're saying, but I think that, I don't know of another area unless staff can tell us where this would
We
be
don't have a whole nother
appropriate.
section somewhere that we haven't gone through that,
I think the objective itself says improve and expand wastewater treatment within Oklahoma County. So I think it does fall under
Right,
there.
it does, because that is one
It
way.
is treating wastewater.
Yeah.
okay.
They don't have a sewer, and they used to have, particularly, they need to be educated about how a septic system works, so.
No further discussion. All those in favor say aye. Opposed? You get that, staff?
I mean, to me, that's an easy goal too. I mean, as a realtor, we could put it in every welcome
Well,
packet that's.
This is what I had thought, is one of the groups that would be involved in this, the realtors would really, because, you're talking to people from California, whatever,
So,
I mean, you've got the first contact with them.
But, education also needs to be of how bad sewer systems can be as well. I mean, they can be worse than a septic tank. So, I mean, people who come from sewer systems tend to look down on septic systems, but they don't realize that they can be safer then. So it needs to be both ways. It doesn't need to just be,
Sewer
you need to
system,
be doing something about your septic system. We need to be fixing some sewer lines in this county.
I think sewer lines generally fall on somebody else, whereas the septic,
Individual.
it's the individual's responsibility.
Okay, we'll move on to objective 7.1.3, implement the goals and objectives, implementation strategy of the community facilities element.
You don't want me to come up with any more strategies?
Ooh, it's all silent waiting. All right, so y'all are on
7.1.3, is that what we're on?
7.1.3.
I didn't understand that objective. It sounded like the goal was to implement the goal.
That's kind of what I was thinking.
That's what
I-
That first one is really confusing.
I didn't understand that when it just popped up all of a sudden. figure out who's gonna implement this.
Isn't that what we're trying to do?
I just didn't get that whole
I mean,
objective.
Yeah.
Well,
and
isn't that what
It's what
the
the number two does do.
accountable agency, and that's the point of it?
I
Can we
don't
take
know,
that back out?
Is that something we need to ask Adam about? Is that something specifically they need in there for some reason? But I don't understand it.
Part of this relates to, if you, 7132 and the reference to the county capital improvements plan, that's something that
Is that the part we need, basically?
is
The
certainly,
capital improvements
is
plan?
certainly specific and concrete.
Well, then that should be the objective rather than the strategy. And then the strategy should be report to council quarterly on yada yada or something.
I don't know what the thinking was there.
I got it reversed.
That may be
I think that we need to ask our consultants to look at that 7.1.3.2 potentially should be the objective
They got it reversed.
with how to update being the strategies. How or when to update being the strategy. So I'd like to make a motion regarding those three,
That they be revised, or
that they be revised with 7.1.3.2 being considered as the objective.
I'll second that one.
Any further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Then we'll move right on to 7.2. Manage community facilities, infrastructure, and,
Whatever.
all that good stuff that's on that.
Yeah.
Residents and business and future generations can enjoy the benefits that make the county attractive and affordable place to live. We need a water park. Oh, it's not in there.
The only thing I felt was missing on that, it's under an objective, but 7.2.1, when you say seek local, I'm assuming that means city, I didn't know, and to me, I think we need to do a lot more reaching out to our industries themselves. There can be some partnerships, I've seen them built within the industry, so about partnerships in industry, working with your schools so that the schools can get students out that are workplace ready. So if you could add, is local the same thing as community? That struck me as local, state, and federal, like that's all tax money. So you need some community money, private. I don't know. But to me, that all sounded like we're looking at taxpayer money, and if we can now look someplace else within the industry itself, industries, community, whatever.
So could we say, seek local, state, federal, and community support?
Yeah, funding support.
Yep.
Yes, that'd be fine. Just move the and put
And
community.
funding support.
And I'll make that motion. Seek local, state, federal, and community funding
I'll second that.
support.
That's it. Let's go.
All right. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Library funding, I don't remember if it was because I'd gone to one of the outreaches at the library or if somebody that was with one of the libraries talking about funding.
You and I went to the,
Is that what it was?
yeah, you and I.
And they were talking about approaching council about funding for one of the libraries.
The Seneca Library came up quite a bit at my meeting, too. Yeah.
It comes up, I think, it came up several meetings.
Yeah.
What's it? It's in strategy 7.2.
I just want to make sure that that's explained there, that it gives to review that request if
That's
it's
what
a
I was,
priority.
That's what the 1 cent
Prioritize
sales tax
expansion.
was going for, and
They had 15.
And I was gonna
Right.
say, if we're gonna jump down to that one about libraries, 7.2.1. Prioritize an expansion and upgrades of libraries through the capital improvements plan and coordinate their location with available infrastructure and the location of schools. I'm just speaking as one who sat through a lot of talk about these libraries in the county, and, they really tried to force some issues on the Blue Ridge School and the new library, et cetera, et cetera. I think that's a terrible mistake. If you want to put a library for Walhalla all the way up Highway 11 and take it away from all your senior citizens and the people in the community who cannot, I don't think the location of a school is absolutely irrelevant to the location of a library.
Agree with that.
Particularly in considering that a good school should have a good library. So,
Libraries
No.
are different now.
I had sketched in population centers. That's really where you want the
and that's
library to
fine,
be.
yeah, just, we don't need to worry about schools, for sure. So I would simply I would make the motion that we strike "and the location of schools" from strategy 7.2.1.
I would agree with that.
We have a motion and a second to strike. Words, any further discussion?
Do we want to add what you just said
Population centers.
with focus on population centers? Would that,
Well, I mean, I think when you talk about libraries, one of the other things that comes up frequently is and for example, Fair Play, a bookmobile is probably, well, at least for now, until they put sewer down there, that's the closest thing they're gonna have to a library. The bookmobile just came to Oakway. I think that's the first time in 30 years or 40 years. Certainly it's the first time since I've known.
And it's not necessarily, where there's mass population that needs those resources. The poorer parts of the county is where they need those resources.
Right.
They can't, drive to the library.
true. So
We actually need the resources out there where the people can't get to the towns.
Should we
And-
put something in there about the use of the bookmobile?
No, I think we've got it. Let's keep it short and sweet.
Yeah.
Let the county
and
go from
let it
there.
go.
I would just take out then those last 4 words.
Yeah, last 5 words, and the location of schools.
Call for the vote.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay.
Okay, should we put anything in there about reducing the dropout rate of schools? That seemed to, or is that? do you
If it's
think that-
high, I think that we need to have a holding spot that we need to find out more information on that, to see if it's going up or down or otherwise.
I Googled it just a second ago. It seems like it's pretty much across the board for the upstate. So I don't know if it's a
Different?
county-specific thing. But
And I think that
I'd be open to
fluctuates
it,
with the
yeah.
economy. As the economy is coming back up, then the dropout rate should go down because,
Decrease.
right, because a lot of people have to drop out because they have to go to work.
Yeah.
That should be improving.
So we could look into that and see what.
So are we gonna see if we can come up with some kind of data and then go from there to see if this is something worth? Is that right, Bill?
I would like to see some data on that.
That would be a good one.
Even if it goes back to the charts back here rather than in the objectives.
Yeah, and we would probably be better in charts and.
Well, that's what I'm saying, back in the text.
So,
I mean, if it's really bad, we may need a strategy about it, but
Right.
just
But
fill
until
out the
we
numbers
find
right.
out, I wouldn't want to add a goal or a strategy.
you look into that for us, Bill? Thank you.
Sorry, that's just
It's a
my take on
Ready for the next one?
the way they phrase things.
7.2.2, upgrade wastewater facilities to improve service and allow for needed upgrades and expansions to provide for the anticipated growth. We already do that.
Yeah, I know I was gonna, in the 2.2.2, do we do any research on a regional landfill, or, I mean, is that, I thought we paid to haul all our stuff to Georgia. Are we doing any kind of research on solid waste?
I don't know that there's any research going on, but what this is suggesting is that we do some level of research into the possibility of partnering. That's a very extensive process, obviously. But that's it.
Unless someone has objections, Mr. Tom would like to say a few things.
know most of you haven't been involved in this stuff as long as I have. Very quickly, I think that's left over from a long time ago. And in fact, we did have an attempt to create a regional landfill with a research mechanism. And it resulted in a big lawsuit between Pickens County, Oconee County, and Anderson County. It took years to resolve. So, enough said.
There's a 9-county regional landfill in 9 counties.
So is that something we need to take out?
I can see that. I mean, I think it's great. This, to me, you could, the 7.2.2.4, alternative technologies that provide a long-term solution to current and projected solid waste needs and maybe used in the future to mitigate and reclaim closed facilities. I think that's a great goal. And I also think the 7.2.2.3 is excellent, this, recycling and composting. I think those other two, I'm like, that's old news. That needs to go.
So take out 1 and 2?
So take out 1 and 2 and make 3 and 4, 1 and 2, and go with it.
Well, I know Mr. McCall has really had a rallying cry about the recycling for years, and I think that's
Yeah.
something that needs to continue to be.
And people are starting to listen to them a little bit, and they're actually doing something instead of, sitting on their thumbs. So,
Yeah.
that might be a goal, a strategy we need to put in here, continue.
On that recycling, I'd also like to put encourage municipalities to continue and
We are
increase
doing
recycling.
that a little bit now.
So let's
Maybe that we need to make that as, let's add that.
that.
That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Make them responsible too.
All right, let's vote on the first one. We have a motion, I don't have a second.
A second.
Not a second. That's to remove strategy 7.2.2.1 and 7.2.2.2. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, now, Alex.
So this would be 7.2.2.1. So it would be something along the lines of work to reduce the volume of solid waste and encourage municipalities to increase recycling. I'm not sure how to word that.
Or do we just put the municipalities as one of the accountable
an
agencies?
That's a good, yeah, there you go.
Or a lead by example statement.
Yeah.
All right, so we have a
Just
motion.
leave it like it is, I think. Yep, add
They're
municipalities as an
responsible
accountable
agency.
agency.
Well, let me ask you this, do we need a lead by example strategy?
I think you have. Work to reduce the volume of solid waste through increased recycling and composting. That's the county saying we're gonna do that.
Okay.
And now let's hold not just Oconee County, but the municipality.
Okay.
Have a motion, need a second?
Second.
Second. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, I guess we'll move into objective 7.2.2. Review public safety needs and enhance facilities as required and needed.
I didn't see anything in there that,
I think those are pretty straightforward.
What did you say, Alex?
I think those are pretty straightforward. I don't know.
those all seem straightforward or above my pay grade or something. They are what they are.
Talking about
The
3.4.
first 7.2.3.1 through 7.2.3.
And then the others are added to that same section, I guess.
The only thing I noticed about some of the others that were added is that while I'm sure I understand that there's disaster preparedness plans and that I think Adam went to some sort of emergency management agency scenario, it's obvious that our citizens aren't getting the information that these things are in place because they've mentioned them as concerns. So,
And so 7.2.3.8 might be communicate to
that these things are.
where to find these plans.
Yes, so it goes back to an education thing, but I know that we're doing them, but obviously the citizens are concerned about the need for them, so we're not relaying it correctly.
I would make a motion that we go with strategy 7.2.3.8 in that we communicate frequently with the citizens of Oconee about emergency plans, communications. I don't know how you word it, but
And the accountable agencies should be the same as the Oconee County, the
Yeah,
municipalities, and
certainly.
the communication providers.
I mean, it's easy enough to do, once a quarter or twice a year, Adam gets on the news station and says, this is what we did.
Yeah, or do
Last month.
put an article in the paper that says, here, folks, this is where you go.
I'll second
Emergency
that
corner.
motion. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Did we get the wording down?
I think Gwen did a real fine job.
Speaking.
Did you get that, Vivian?
I'll get it.
Back to the video. All right. Objective 7.2.4, ensure access to quality and timely health care for all residents and visitors.
I got a question here. Does Oconee County own Oconee County
That's-
Memorial Hospital anymore?
No.
So
Or Prisma.
are there any county-owned facilities? I mean, obviously there are, so,
Well, how does Rosa Clark fit in there?
yeah, Rosa Clark is county, I don't know. They're listed somewhere, and Rosa Clark is listed. It may not be funded fully by Oconee County, but I believe it's owned by Oconee County.
I think the
I could be
property of
wrong.
the city or something is involved, just the
It-
property.
Well, Rosa Clark has moved across from the hospital in like,
Oh, they're not off the center anymore?
They're not
no,
down
they're
there
across,
anymore.
they're across from the hospital now, so that may be hospital property. I don't know.
Without us owning a healthcare facility, we can ensure access to anything. That would be up to Greenville Hospital.
Well, it's not even Greenville, it's Prisma now.
A prison. You got 3 seconds.
Takes more time to walk up here. It's not a true, what I would consider a healthcare facility. However, the county does own the building that the health department is, and there is some services that take place. Now, the state pays the county to rent that building, but nonetheless, the county does own that building, and there is some health services that are done there. But that's about it, so.
Very rudimentary.
Well, then, we can leave it as review and upgrade county-owned medical and other healthcare facilities as needed. And then maybe we'll find out what all we do have.
Should review it more.
We could check that for you.
Right, and it might be that we need to take that out completely if it turns out, because to me, have we not already addressed the efficiency of medical services under the facilities part of this?
All right, objective.
Well, we do, like the Oconee Rescue Squad and stuff, as far as 7.2.4.2, continue to explore ways to increase the efficiency of the emergency medical services. Our first responders and stuff, that is county.
Right, but is that not up here under review and upgrade existing emergency facilities, plans, et cetera, under all those, the ones at the top of the page?
7.2.3.
Does that not count all them too,
7.2.3.1.
the rescue squad and stuff?
Emergency facility plan. I don't know that those are talking about the same things.
One is facilities.
If it's not, then yeah, leave it, okay,
I think
that's
one
fine.
is talking about
That-
service and one is talking about the
Okay,
facility itself.
okay, that's fine.
Okay, objective 7.2.5, strengthen court among the county, municipalities, neighboring counties, regional, state agencies, and other public and private.
Where was that? If you look at 7.2.3.3, isn't that the same? I mean, what's the difference? I don't see anything different. Public safety planning. I mean, you could remove 7.2.3.3 since there's a whole section on doing that exact same thing.
Okay,
Oh, yeah, okay.
I'm lost too.
I'm lost.
All right, 7.2.3.3.
If you go to the top of the page, continue coordination.
coordination of local public safety planning activities with local, regional, state, and federal agencies. Objective 7.2.5, strengthen coordination among county municipalities, neighboring counties, regional, state agencies, private, public stations.
If you compare strategy 7.2.3.3 with strategy 7.2.5.1, they look, 7.2.51 actually looks to be a
Much
bit
more in
better
depth, yeah. Mhm.
strategy than,
Than the previous one.
yeah.
And the 3.3,
Yeah, so would you make a motion to strike strategy 7.2.3.3?
Yeah, so I'll make a motion to remove strategy 7.2.3.3.
And I'll second that.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
I'm still confused. Hang on. Because 7.2.5 has to do with health. Are we still on healthcare?
No, it's got
No.
everything.
Strategy 7.2.5.1, you read that one and compare that one to 7.2.3.3, it's the same thing, only it's a little bit more in depth.
7.3.1.3 is,
No, 7.2.3.3.
at the top of the page, Stacy.
I'm on the wrong page. Tell me the numbers one more time.
7.2.3.3. Compare it with 7.2.5.1.
Okay, give me just a second.
Had to stop there.
It's kind of crazy for them.
Gotcha. Carry on.
Review public safety.
All right.
Okay.
And all those in favor of striking 7.2.3?
Aye.
Aye, aye.
Okay, all those opposed. Okay. So now,
I don't have any disagreement with any of these.
our last one is 7.3, preserve, maintain, expand, promote opportunities for recreation.
Is a passive recreational opportunity like sitting there watching the sunset?
I think it's like just sitting in a park.
Just sit, okay, just a quiet place for, okay.
Okay, so along this, I have been shocked and surprised that every weekend driving down around the lake, that there are 75, 100-plus cars pulling off on the side of the road and walking down trails that I don't know where they exist, which tells me that there are not enough county facilities, or the county facilities are charging too much. There's cars everywhere parked along the side of the road to try to get access to the lake so that they can hang out for the day, which is wonderful. But why are they doing it right there as opposed to doing it in a park? Do we need another park? Are we charging too much for parks? Do we not have enough sandy beaches at the parks? Or what's wrong that people feel like that they need to find some other location, or the park's not big enough?
They don't want to be with the crowd.
Well-
I'm at the
They
lake.
may just.
People on our way don't want to be with a bunch of
75
other
cars
people.
trying to go to one little section.
They allow alcohol.
Well, and there's a lot
That's the way it
of
is.
booklets now that are about how to park and walk to some of the waterfalls. And they, not all of them, some of them encourage that you park on the side of the road and walk down a little
Well, you're
trail.
talking
Well, I'm
Like
just talking
just
about
the bridges on-
specifically with regard to the bridge areas and things like that for the lake, or areas where they can access the beach, and maybe that's it, maybe that the, and that's what the deal is.
Because it's only $2 or something.
A lot of it's fishing, yeah.
Yeah, it
A
could
lot
be.
of that
Fishing
stuff is
around
fishing
bridges.
around the bridges, around the sides.
And if we're gonna promote opportunities for recreation, we better not tell them they can't park there.
Well, I'm not
State-
suggesting that they can't park there, I'm just wondering, what are we doing wrong as a county
Maybe
that
nothing.
there's such a need there?
Nothing.
I think that happens
They just don't want
everywhere.
everything structured.
Okay.
Population is
And the state
growing
will-
and there's more people
They
that
just want to
see the
get their
value.
They don't
fish
tell them they
without
can't park
anybody
there, they get-
charging them or telling them when they gotta leave or when they can come, and no rules. They can
Okay.
just go down there and do their thing.
That's
Okay.
another thing we got.
But we did go up that way for Memorial Day, and there was one that was, I mean, it was like you say,
I'm just
70
surprised
cars
that, I'm
pulling
just
off
surprised
the
because it's
road.
not convenient. It doesn't seem like, the alcohol makes sense. But I was wondering why somebody would use that over going to a county facility.
$2, get in the park.
Yeah, that's,
Well, and also, I mean, I've seen recently, well, in fact, just this morning, there were posts from two landing, I gathered their landing, they were named spots where they were, and massive amount of garbage just dumped on the side of the, so it could be that people are choosing to go to a place where they're kind of in control of their, and they want their own thing, and I don't want to go where those people that do that are, so give me my own spot.
Anyway, just wondering, since it came up in this area, are we not doing something that we should be doing?
We have heard comments about bike trails. I don't see anything in here, in the recreational thing. I know it's getting late, whatever, but I think we ought to think about it. Maybe next time we come back.
you could tack that on to strategy 7.3.1.4.
I think
Because
that's
I
what
think
the
it's somewhat
Greenway
in-
system is, isn't it?
It's under the Greenway system. It says to connect existing parks.
7.1.1.
Yeah, enable safe cycling routes.
Under which
word that?
7.3.1.1. Go down to the bottom of the other page,
Okay.
in the blue.
Yeah, I see it. Okay, all right, thank you.
In fact, the reference to cycling was added as part of some of the input and outreach meetings.
Yeah, yeah.
So that's an official
Okay.
that's strategy.
We hear a lot, I know, at the farmer's market about they want a swamp rabbit trail. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a lot of unused railroad property that would connect particularly well so that could be done.
They're looking at the Duke right-of-way systems is
Which I
what's
think
being
is really cool.
proposed.
The power lines underneath the power lines.
The right-of-ways.
You get a lot of electricity there.
I don't necessarily want to be under them,
No,
but hey,
if you walk fast, it's a
yeah.
Okay, any other discussion on the community facilities element? If not, is there any old business? Is there any new business? Do I get a motion to adjourn?
So move.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.